Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we're going to do is put much more emphasis on Section 3,
Okay.
which requires HUD builders to use low-income residents as employees during the construction of these various developments and the redevelopment of places. It's largely ignored right now, and we're going to change that by emphasizing it in a different way and incentivizing people to use it. But just think about it. Most major construction and reconstruction projects are known about well more than a year in advance.
Right.
So if you know that already, why not prepare the people, begin to train the people ahead of time so that when you're ready to do it, you have the workforce that's necessary. And if you give them those skills, you're giving them something that they carry with them for the rest of their lives. Again, something that will free them up and allow them to, take their wings and fly away. That's what we're trying to do. It's not how many people we can get into public housing, it's how many people we can get out of it. Yeah. And also another ideal we've had is the house savings accounts. Take a small amount of money each month and put it into an account that is associated with that unit. And the routine maintenance comes out of that account. So if the screens always have holes poked in and the windows are always broken and light bulbs, it comes out of that account. But if not, the money just continues to accumulate month over month, year over year. They have the ability to see how much money it is, which kind of incentivizes them. And if they move out of public housing in 5 to 10 years, they get the money for a down payment.
And the truth is, many people that you're running into, many people that I talk to, don't think that the American dream is available to them or that they'll ever be able to buy a house. If we get people to the point to where they can actually make that purchase, no matter how small or how big that first purchase is, buying a house in America sort of, puts your feet in cement that you have achieve the American dream. That's what it's all about. And a lot of people, I think, still believe they have to get it from the government. They have to be handed something from somebody else. And that disincentive has been happening from the far left and Democrats who thought up projects, to be honest with you, for a long time. I want to see people like you want to see people achieve what we know they could achieve. So hiring people from the surrounding area, from that community, also these savings accounts sounds great, but you're going to be attacked by the left a lot because that means less government spending, less government intervention, and you and I both know that they want to control the masses. How do you balance that and get people in these urban areas that are voting by and large Democrat to see that it's really not a political issue, it's about the American dream, and it's about success in their own lives?
Well, actually, I've been quite pleasantly surprised as I've talked to a lot of people on the other side about some of these programs, and they, for the most part, actually like them. When they actually sit down and listen and we engage in a dialogue and they begin to see what the real effects are. Now, there are some others perhaps behind the scenes who are doing a lot of manipulating of people.
Yeah, agreed.
Who do want to maintain some dependency because that gives them control. But your average Democrat isn't like that, and many of them simply haven't really thought through this thing. But when they start listening and recognizing what the end effect is, people of goodwill want to see others succeed, and they understand that this is a mechanism for making that happen.
It's Dr. Ben Carson, HUD Secretary, Housing and Urban Development Secretary of the Trump administration. I know you've got to go here in a second. I want to ask you a quick question, though, about Michigan. I've got 15 of my 93 stations are in Michigan. I spent a lot of time there as a television news anchor, spent a lot of time in Detroit. Detroit is the poster city for how not to run a city. Detroit is the poster city for urban blight and for people throwing their hands up and saying, we just can't succeed. I mean, there are beautiful old homes there that are available for a couple of $1,000s, and right now they're probably being inhabited by crack dealers. How do you go into a place like Detroit, once Grand City, USA, and get the residents to understand that, A, you really can trust the leaders because the leaders there have stunk for 60 years, Doctor, and B, I'm here to help. I'm not here to take more advantage of you.
Well, interestingly enough, Detroit has had sputtering stops and starts for the last 40 or 50 years.
Right.
But now they actually are making some very substantial progress, primarily by using public-private partnerships, by creating these win-win situations where you can take the federal dollars and leverage them. In Detroit, at an average of 8 to 1. And as a result of that, some of the most blighted areas, I visited one of the projects that was horrendous when I was growing up.
Yeah.
It's now beautiful with a long waiting list to get in there. But the government contribution was only about 1/8 of what had to be done. But you have to be able to create the right kinds of incentives. And you have to create win-win situations. That's going to really be the key, because the government doesn't have enough money to do all the things that need to be done. But there's infinitely more money in the private sector, but you can't just ask them to give it to you. You have to create the right circumstances under which they see an advantage for themselves as